6 is on your side tonight with an update on the nationwide ADHD drug shortage.
Several manufacturers are now making a generic version of one prescription. 6 News' Joe Harris looks into how it's impacting the metro.
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, impacts millions of kids and adults. At Children's Omaha, Psychiatry Division Chief Dr. Jennifer McWilliams says the prescriptions used to treat the condition are crucial.
It's not just kids, being lazy or parents not wanting to parent or teachers not wanting to teach. That without these medications, these kids have significant difficulties with focus, emotional regulation, impulse control.
McWilliams says part of the ADHD drug shortage has been a domino effect starting with Adderall that expanded to other medications like Focalin, Ritalin, Concerta, and Vyvanse.
Kids who were doing well on Adderall suddenly couldn't get the medication, and so a lot of us resorted to switching them to different but similar medications, and then those medications went on back order and there was a shortage of those.
Omaha area pharmacies felt the pinch of the nationwide shortage, but are now seeing some relief. The FDA recently approved several generic versions of the drug Vyvanse, and Nebraska Medicine's pharmacy operations director says around half of their patients have switched to it.
Between brand name Vyvanse and the generic form, we have definitely seen relief with the drug shortages that we were experiencing. We've been better able to take care of our patients and ensure that they can get the medications that they need.
As for the other medications, she says most of their supply chain issues have been resolved, except for generic Focalin. She says they even have most strengths of generic and brand name Adderall in stock.
We're still seeing some intermittent availability with the immediate release formulations, but most of the ER forms we are able to get back in.
But that isn't the case for every pharmacy. Kohl's RX tells 6 News it's still a bit of a challenge to keep both brand name Vyvanse and its generic version in supply. They also say it's hit and miss getting Adderall, Ritalin, and Concerta resupplied. Even with this relief, McWilliams warns ADHD patients are not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel quite yet.
There's been an increasing number of kids diagnosed with ADHD in the last several years, and if we're not increasing production across the board of these medications, I worry that is going to be a temporary stopgap at best.
On your side.
And 6 News also reached out to CVS and Walgreens in Omaha. CVS saying they are not experiencing supply issues for Vyvanse or Ritalin, and we have not heard back from Walgreens.